October is Mi'kmaq History Month in Nova Scotia and an important time to promote learning and awareness for people of all ages. Our next guest has written a children's book called Sem's Map. It tells the story of a young Indigenous boy who doesn't recognize the map his teacher uses for geography class. Sem's Map is a picture book for children, but its message is about the significance of land acknowledgement and a reminder that the land has a lot to tell us if we open our hearts and minds and actually listen. Here to tell us more is Rebecca Thomas, award-winning Mi'kmaq poet and the former poet laureate of Halifax. Good morning, Rebecca.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So great to have you in. Love your jewelry.
Thank you very much. I was very excited that the Blue Jays won. I'm a big sports fan, so is my husband. And you
made that?
Yes, I made it. It was the first medallion that I made. I made it 10 or 12 years ago, and though the beading isn't as tight as I'd like it to be these days, I'm still very excited to be able to wear it today.
Definitely. All right, and a moment of many talents. You've written Sem's Map. Why did you write this book?
I had been asked to write a book about land acknowledgements at one point in time, but I didn't want it to be an explainer, like, oh, this is a land acknowledgement, this is why we do them, but rather kind of tell it through the eyes of someone who might know the land differently than many of Canadians who know it now.
Yes, and so you tell in the author's notes, you talk about how your grandfather growing up had a big atlas on the table with the places, probably a lot of us remember that. But when did your relationship with land change? Because this book tells a story of how Mi'kmaq people see the land differently than people who aren't of the Mi'kmaq tradition.
Yeah, I mean, it was probably in my 30s, like I'm turning 40 in a couple months, but I remember going out with friends of mine and doing eel spearing and fiddlehead gathering and like being told place names and words that explained what was around. And a friend of mine had said that like beads and ribbon skirts and dancing and drumming is one aspect of being Indigenous, but the land is what shaped us. So to be Mi'kmaq, to understand Mi'kmaqi, is go out and introduce yourself to the land and see what she has to say.
And what's cool is that in the books talks about the map, the Mi'kmaq way that people see a map. The map says, come here and this is what you'll find. So the name Halifax means it's Jibuktuk?
Yeah, Jibuktuk, great harbor. So Halifax is like, you know, the second deepest natural harbor in the world. You have Sibaganegati, a place where the wild potato grows. The Moncton region is drainage place. It's all wetlands. That's where I grew up. Unama'ki, land of the fog, right? Newfoundland is land beyond the fog. And then like Gespagagig is last land. That's the end of our territory. Whereas down in Yarmouth is land's end. Because the land ends, then it's water after that. So it's instructional.
It's a really interesting way of looking. I love it. I think that that's a great, you know, a lesson for us all, that we could see the places where we live in a different way. So in the book, I want to just give a shout out to Asby Whitecalf, who did the illustrations. Very joyful. Why did you choose this illustrator to tell this story?
For me, it was about having an Indigenous illustrator. Every kid's book that I've published has had an Indigenous illustrator. I'm a big believer in propping the door open behind me, right? There's not as many Indigenous authors or illustrators in the world, and I wanted an Indigenous illustrator, and I just fell in love with Asby's colors, bright colors, the way that they do faces, and we reached out to them, well, my publisher did, Nimbus, and asked if they would be interested in illustrating. They read the story and said yes, and I feel extremely grateful for the imagination of an illustrator. I do the words, right? And I have an idea in my head of what I want the pictures to look like, but I have to let that go and trust in the illustrators to do a fabulous job, which they did. Asby was fantastic.
For sure, and we have to go, but this is a map at the very end of the book. That's a map of Turtle Island, which is North America. It is all of the Indigenous places and the names of, you know, done in the language of the people who live in those areas. Yeah. Rebecca, thank you so much for coming in and sharing this with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
And Sem's Map is available where books are sold. It's published locally by Nimbus Press. And I loved it. I think it's great for anybody to read. We got to go to break. We'll be at 7:27. We'll be back with more Your Morning Atlantic right after this.